All right, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to do another weather update. We did my very first live stream here on YouTube earlier this afternoon, and now it is 7:30. Got a little bit more weather information in, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Some really interesting insights about this storm tomorrow. Some information suggesting that we could see a lot of snow, that these numbers, when I'm looking at them, honestly don't quite make sense considering how fast it's going to be moving and the fact that temperatures are going to be borderline. So we're looking outside. You can see that shot there overlooking lower Manhattan. Maybe you can see that they're very tiny in the corner. About 46 degrees right now in Manhattan. So it's hard to believe that we would see the type of snow that some of these forecast models are showing, but we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty as to why we're going to see snow in the first place, considering how warm it is right now. So let's switch over to actually the current temperatures that we are seeing around the five boroughs. So we'll talk about New York City in general first. And as we're looking at these temperatures, we have a lot of mid-40s that are being reported on the Upper East Side. We have temperatures over in Sunnyside that are around 43 degrees, Corona 43 degrees. We got Brooklyn 42, 43 degrees over there by the Flatlands. Even on Staten Island, which is typically one of the cooler spots for this time of the night, is in the low 40s right now. So we don't have a supply of cold air that is readily available. That is for absolute sure. And if we look at temperatures that are outside of the Northeast, or rather outside of the New York City metro, up here in upstate New York, where there are winter storm warnings, I can tell you in Syracuse and Albany, temperatures today were up around 40 degrees. So let's take you through what the forecast models are showing for tomorrow and how this will play out. This is a look at one of the high resolution models, and we're starting things off there at the tail end. So let's rewind the clock a little bit and go back forward in time and show you what's going to play out. So here we are, we're coming up on 8 o'clock, and so that's where we're going to start things off. As we move the clock forward, you can see the precipitation there on the screen moving closer and closer to New York City and moving through New Jersey, Pennsylvania, but it's all in green. So it's just rain as this precipitation is getting started. And we go to about midnight. Here we are at midnight, and it's still predominantly rain. It's shortly after midnight that we start to see a changeover to snow. It takes a few hours, and I think this is probably a little bit faster than what will play out. But by the time we get to about 6 o'clock in the morning, that's really where we're going to start to see a change over to snow. In New York City and northern New Jersey, you can see the pink shadings there throughout central Jersey, where rain and snow is still going to be mixed. But the colors that you're seeing on the map indicate the intensity of the precipitation, and that's one of the things that's impressive with this storm, is that the precipitation is going to be very, very heavy. So this isn't a light, wet snow that's going to have a tough time sticking. This is really heavy snow that just, it's one snowflake after another, that can typically overcome some of these things that are working against it. And at this point, it would be temperatures near the ground that are above freezing, and the actual ground itself is probably pretty warm considering how warm it's been lately. So we move the clock forward, and by 8 o'clock in the morning, there is this stripe of dark blue covering all of New York City, Long Island, and down through central New Jersey. That is snow at the rate of 1 to 2 inches per hour, and that's at around 8 o'clock in the morning. And that continues 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Now at this point, that shift in the mixture has worked down to the south, so just about all of New Jersey will be seeing heavy snow at the rate of 1 to 2 inches per hour. Notice the back edge here, so we're getting 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Already the back edge of the storm is working through. We get to about noontime, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, or rather afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the storm's already moving out, and by 2, 3 p.m., the storm is gone. So this is a very fast moving storm. It doesn't have a lot of cold air that it's working with. And those are some giant limiting factors. So let's look at the forecast model. This is what it looks like as we're looking at it from a little bit more zoomed out. We'll start at the beginning here. This is where we are right now. We move that clock forward. We see that changeover. The low pressure is centered down here. One thing that I've noticed with the new update that came out this afternoon is that the storm's not strengthening quite as quickly as what we were seeing in some earlier model runs. So if the storm's not strengthening quite as quickly, that heavy precipitation that the models have been showing may not be quite as heavy as what they're indicating. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because the precipitation accumulating, that snow being able to accumulate, really depends on how heavy that snow is. If the snow is not heavy, it's not going to be able to overcome that. So you kind of get the theme that I'm getting at here, is that there's some limiting factors here, but I still think that there's a good shot that we're going to see some tough travel for at least a couple of hours. I was trying to explain this earlier. This is a look at a skew T diagram, and on this graph, as you go up on the graph, that is up in the atmosphere. The temperatures are indicated and they're skewed, skew T, meaning skewed temperature. And so the dark black line there, the bold line, is the 0 degree line. The red line you're looking at is the actual temperature. So as we move the clock forward, you can see the bottom part of the atmosphere tonight is still above freezing, which is why we're forecasting rain. But then as we get into the morning, we start to see that temperature going back. However, it's a little on that borderline for quite some time. So this snow's going to be a very wet snow. That's what we're getting at, is as you go up in the atmosphere, the temperature's right around freezing. So you're going to get heavy, wet snow with probably pretty giant snowflakes. The giant snowflakes should actually help out with the accumulation of the snow. So let's get back to some of my weather graphics here. We're going to switch over to this source. And we're looking at the official forecast there for the Northeast. And this is an adjustment that I've made. I've kind of shrunk the zone a little bit, since it's going to be a narrow area of snow. And we're looking at about 4 to 8 inches of snow that will be falling across the Northeast. So we do expect a 4 to 8 inch swath of snow and 8 to 12 inches just north of that. So we're looking at a pretty narrow but intense band of snow that will be impacting the Northeast as we head through the day. Let's switch the graphic to some of the headlines. Here's what we're expecting. Rain is going to change the snow by 7 a.m. That snow will become very heavy after that at the rate, let's move that back, at the rate of about 1 inch per hour. And then the snow will end between 2 and 3 p.m. The way it looks right now. So we're looking at that snow ending between about 2 and 3 p.m. Let me back this up a couple more graphics, because I wanted to show you also the National Weather Service alerts that are in effect. Where you have the pink shadings, that is a winter storm warning. So that's where we think that snow accumulations will be significant, cause tough travel conditions. That does include the 5 boroughs and also northern New Jersey and the lower Hudson Valley, all of Connecticut, eastern Massachusetts. And then in the purple, that's where we consider a winter weather advisory, one step below that, where there could be some tough travel conditions and perhaps snowfall amounts that perhaps get up there close to 6 or 7 inches, but typically don't exceed 7 inches of snow. So that's what we're expecting as far as the impacts for tomorrow morning. Again, we have a lot of limiting factors. One of the big ones being that the temperatures are not terribly cold around the Northeast. I'm going to switch this back to the camera shot there of lower Manhattan. So the temperature is still right now, what are we at, 7:40 p.m., reading at about 46 degrees. So we have temperatures that are barely cold enough. We do have snow that's going to be heavy, and it should be heavy enough that it overcomes the obstacle of it not being terribly cold. And that forecast of heavy precipitation is really banking on a rapid strengthening of the storm. That's where I think there's still some question marks. So my confidence level on this one is somewhere in the middle. You know, I'm confident that we're going to see a change over to snow. I think where I lack the confidence is whether or not the snow will be heavy enough to overcome the temperatures that are not really that cold. So I really think that the greater chance for those amounts to be higher. And as we switch back here to this particular graphic and move that forward, that's why you see that pink shading there north of the city, 8 to 12 inches of snow, because that's what some of our forecast models are showing. You want to see something neat? I'll show you kind of a little bit behind the scenes. Probably wouldn't, if I was working at a TV station, I probably wouldn't want to show this just because it, probably cause some confusion. But I think you guys can handle this. Let's look at what the GFS is indicating as far as snowfall amounts go. So we switch this to this. This is the storm total. We're going to switch the view here to New York City. Let's see if I can find New York City on this list, because it looks like it's hard to navigate here when you got so many things on your screen. Why is this not letting me scroll all the way down? We got Great Falls. All right, well, let's see if we can at least get New York State. I think because I'm sharing the screen, it's kind of, there it goes. Now it's letting me scroll. All right, so here's a look at some of these amounts, and we're going to zoom in. And so this is what the GFS, this is the American GFS model, and this is why we don't just go with the model and call it a day, because there's obviously some limiting factors. But as I'm zooming in, you can look at that graphic and see that there are amounts there that are 10, 11, 12 inches of snow. And then when we look at the same exact weather information, but on the European model, and switch that over, this is what the European model shows for the entire event. Quite a bit less. So to say we have a discrepancy in the models is an understatement. But the general idea here is that the snow will happen. We are going to see a changeover from rain to snow. The snow is likely to be heavy at times, and that snow will probably be heavy enough that it'll overcome those temperatures. But I don't think we're going to see a foot of snow or 10 inches or whatever some of the model numbers have been with the American GFS. So that is the latest that I have right here. If you do have any questions, there's that chat box. Feel free to put anything in there. I welcome questions if anyone has them. But we are expecting quite the storm for tomorrow, winter storm warning. I think this is the first winter storm warning. I'm trying to think back. I don't think we've had a winter storm warning in quite some time here for New York City, so it's been a minute. Which model is generally trusted more, Kevin? Well, for many years it was the European model. You probably heard a lot of meteorologists on TV say it's a European model, but lately I've gained a little bit more trust in the American GFS. But this time around, I mean, it's easy to say that now. It'll be interesting how it all plays out, but I, at least of right now, think that the American GFS model is overdoing it a little bit. We have a lot of obstacles. Could you imagine, again, from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., which is a matter of 7 hours, if we get over 10 inches of snow, it would have to snow at a rate of 1 to 2 inches per hour for all that time in order to get snowfall amounts upward in that range. So I think that it's overdoing it at least just a little bit. We will see how this plays out, but of course. Yeah, so Sandra, you're very welcome for the update. Kate, what do I think the impacts for the evening air travel will be? So this storm is out of here, as I was indicating there. Let's go back, Kate, and I'll show you a graphic that shows you the timing. So here we are. This is 6 p.m. The impacts from the current weather at 6 p.m. would be minimal, but anyone, and probably most of us have, that live anywhere near the New York City area, anyone that has flown into those airports, JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, it doesn't take much to really disrupt the travel toward the end of the day. So my guessing is going to be that there will be significant impacts, and it's not from the current weather that's happening in the evening. It's going to be from what happened earlier in the day and sort of a domino effect that probably lingers probably right into the next day. That would be into Wednesday. So I'm sure that's not what you want to hear, but that's just the way it often plays out, is significant impacts for sure expected early in the day. Even though the weather will be improving, I think there's just going to be that domino effect that kind of continues it through the rest of the day. All right, so that is, I think, all I have for right now. Please, I'm going to start doing these updates more often. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss one of these, hit that subscribe button on YouTube and you'll get notified every time I post a new video or go live. And of course, there's lots of ways to support this little endeavor that I have going, Weather with Eric. You can download the Weather app, which is available for iPhone and Android, both of those app stores. And then also there's my weather subscription that you can sign up for, which has some big changes coming up that I'm working on right now. That can be signed up for on my website, erickadameontv.com. So thanks for supporting me. Of course, one other way, my mom told me to mention this earlier. She's like, don't forget to tell them. You can always buy me a coffee too. You see that button there. A lot of you have done that, and it's always the sweetest thing, you know, to see that, you know, so-and-so bought you a coffee. You can put a nice message in there. It's just a nice way to say thanks. So if you appreciate the effort, appreciate the information, you can do that as well. So hope everyone has a good evening. I do think the travel is going to be very difficult tomorrow morning. We haven't had this in quite some time. So if you have the option to stay home and wait it out, I would do that. Stay home, be safe. And I will see all of you, I guess, tomorrow morning, because I will have a weather update tomorrow morning. I'll try to see if I can do a weather update, a live weather update with some live radar images tomorrow morning as well. All right, guys, have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.